Hello, everyone. You are listening to SeeThroughPanel, a comic book discussion podcast. My name is Cole Harvey. I'm here with Fahed Rahman.
Hello, everyone.
Today we're going to be talking about Black Stars Above, written by Lonnie Nadler, drawn by Jenna Cha, and published by Vault Comics.
Yes, and the summary for Black Stars Above is: a young fur trapper flees her overbearing family only to get lost in a dreamlike wilderness that harbors a cosmic threat. The year is 1887, and a storm brews. Eulalie Dubois has spent her entire life tending to her family's trapline, isolated from the world. The chance at freedom comes in the form of a parcel that needs delivering to a nameless town north of the wilderness. Little does Eulalie know that something sinister hides in those woods, and it yearns for what she carries. A chilling historical cosmic horror tale of survival from the deranged minds of Lonnie Nadler, the Dregs' Marvelous X-Men, and debut artist Jenna Cha. And I also think we should give a shout out to the other members of the creative team, which are colorist Brad Simpson and letterer Hassan Ostami Lahu. And yeah, so this was one of your choices. How did you come across the comic?
I think I saw it just on like the new, when it was first coming out. I saw it was coming out in issues, and I was interested in it. And I never actually read it in issues. That was probably last year. So I kind of just had it on my radar, and I was looking for some good horror a couple months ago, and I ordered the trade paperback. So
I've again kind of lumped for the Comixology version because I think we were initially going to record this episode a couple of weeks ago, but then things happened. We've had to kind of delay it a little bit, so I wasn't sure if I'd get the hard copy in time. So kind of, what are your initial thoughts about the book?
So it kind of follows a very Lovecraftian narrative, but obviously Lovecraft doesn't do female protagonists. He only does straight white male protagonists, so it's a little bit different. It's also a little bit earlier in time than most of Lovecraft stories, but other than that, I thought it would it's what I expected it to be. I thought it was a little slow at this. Maybe I don't think it hooked me till issue 3, which normally I probably wouldn't have made it that far, but because I had already said we're doing a show, I had to keep reading.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I kept reading. I don't know about if you had that same issue or not, but
I felt I felt the first issue was fine. I think the kind of sagged. How many issues was this? This is what, 4 issues?
It looks like 5.
5. Okay, so I felt the first issue was fine. I think the second and third issues kind of slowed the pace down a little bit. I would say there is a sequence early on. I'm not too sure if it's in the first or the second issues where she has a discussion with her mother and farmer over family dinner about what's gonna happen to her, basically. And like there's a sequence where she basically breaks down crying about kind of like the unfair fate that kind of faces her, and that to me kept me going through kind of the slower bits, because I just thought that was such a magnificently, I think it's on page 26, and there's just this sequence where she's looking from her mother to her father, kind of and there's just this, and that kind of that sustained me through the slower bits, because I thought if there's anything else in the narrative that kind of matches that sequence, then it will be kind of worth pushing to the slower bits.
Yeah, I think that scene really did get me too. I really like the panel work in that scene. The fact that the top half is white and then fades to black, and then the background colors on her panels slowly go from these warm yellows to like a bluish gray towards the end. Yeah, that was excellently done. Yeah. I actually agree. I think the panel work in this whole book is really well done. I think Jenna Cha is her name. I think she's magnificent at layouts. If nothing else, layouts are amazing.
Yes, yeah. I felt the art was generally. I wasn't. I didn't kind of know what to make of her art style initially. I couldn't
Hmm.
kind of see what she was trying to go for, but I think overall it worked quite well given kind of the nature of the story. And like you said, like the panel layouts are amazing. Her backgrounds are quite good as well, and kind of like when she's given the opportunity to do these kind of like um conversations where there's this tension between family members or kind of and there's a scene towards the end of the book where she's almost in like a hostage situation where she comes across a cabin in the woods, kind of those conversation pieces. I think she does exceptionally well, and kind of as you mentioned the layouts, kind of shot selection and composition of the shots are also pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of her art style either early on. I thought that the line work was kind of odd to me. It was kind of it has a grimy feel to it. It looks
Yeah,
clean. Like everything is clean. Like nothing bleeds into like her figure work isn't like bleeding into the backgrounds, but it's kind of
yeah,
I don't know what to call like lumpy kind. Like everyone looks like people, but it's a bit off. I still really like
yeah.
her art.
I was trying to think, what her influences are, and I just, because usually when you, especially with modern day graphic novels, you can kind of say, "Well, this is like Bande Neste," or "This is manga," or "This is influenced by Camilla," or "This is influenced by Jack Kirby." You can kind of see where the through
Hmm.
line of the, and I couldn't get a firm grip on what her kind of the artist influences behind why she made some of the choices that she did. Also, I was a little bit confused by that, but overall, kind of, I enjoyed the art. I think it got stronger through the novel. She's got some really, when does go into the horror aspects of the book, of the story, kind of her some of the imagery she's able to conjure up is really creepy, and it's kind of like,
Hmm.
so I shouldn't really be reading this late at night sort of thing. So that's kind of what you want from a horror comic like this.
I really wasn't sure about it the first issue, just because it had chops. Like I thought the first issue was good, but I didn't know how interested I was in continuing. But I'm really glad I did because yeah, it's really well done horror. I was kind of doubtful at first, but it becomes a crazy ride, like most Lovecraftian things do. It kind of um, makes sense, but doesn't make sense. The story is hard to follow in terms of if you step back after finishing the whole thing and you think about the layout of the story, it's kind of odd, kind of like a twist and turny line. But I actually really love the ending too, which we'll eventually get to. But
Yeah. So we should we start with kind of like the plot. So our protagonist is a girl or young woman coming of age, kind of in Canada. It is in Canada, isn't it? Where the story's set.
yes, I believe so.
Yeah, it's in yeah, and basically, she's from a really struggling family. The family, she's from a family of. I wasn't entirely sure what her kind of ethnic background was. Like, was her mother French, or was she? I can't remember what they said about what her mother's. Looks like I think her dad is maybe like British, or like
Yeah,
first second generation Canadian, Western Canadian, and I think her mum might be Native American. I'm not sure. Anyway, they're really struggling financially, and they decide to marry her off, and she doesn't she doesn't really want to get married. She wants to stay out where she is and be free and go on adventures. And she's given this opportunity by this creepy looking guy in a top hat to kind of carry this package to this weird village, and it just all kind of goes downhill from there, really.
Yeah, that guy, the guy with the top hat, he's got like the white spots all over his face, and he's kind of got
Yeah,
he's. I know it's supposed to maybe be like that, but he's kind of looks like he's fishy. He's he's kind of got a
yes,
frog-like face, which I think is probably on purpose. But yeah,
yeah,
that's an interesting plot hook. So she gets offered the package and then comes home and her parents tell her they're marrying her off, and that immediately she's just
yeah,
like, all right, I'm gonna go deliver the package instead. And they just call it like the town up north, do they? They don't ever call it by a name.
yeah. I think that's kind of. I think it's sort of explained because it's almost like this mythical place that people know exists, but no one's ever been there. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's kind of explained away by the internal building mythology behind the events in the story.
Yeah, God. So basically then she runs away at the end of issue 1. Issue 2, she's kind of she doesn't know what's in the case, by the way, the thing she's delivering. Until Does she open it at the end of issue 1? Or is that in issue 2?
I think that's issue two. She kind of sees.
Yeah, well, she opens it and
Yeah,
it does that was the obvious giveaway to me. It does a Tekka Lee Lee sound, which is a classic
yeah.
Shogoth from Lovecraft. They always make that sound, or not always.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, yeah. That was. I've not read much Lovecraft, so that wasn't something that I was
Yeah.
I was aware of. So yeah,
Yeah, so that's like it's kind of a tell. It doesn't really matter, but it's kind of a tell for people that know that it's a Shogoth or a baby Shogoth or something. So she's essentially carrying a monster with her to the town north of the woods. Issue 2. Also, there's that journal. I don't want to miss the journal thing.
it's a postlery, isn't it? Kind of. It's everything that's we're reading has already taken place, I think, and it's just her recording it down. I think
Yeah,
that's correct, isn't it? Yeah,
I believe so. I think we catch up. See, I thought for a second in about issue 4, I thought we caught up, and that was the moment that she was writing because it seemed like that's when she got the book and we saw her writing.
yeah,
But it does continue all the way to the end. There's still more writing, so I think maybe it is just in the future the entire time, and we never fully caught up.
yeah, yeah,
But that
yeah.
was interesting, yeah. So basically, she starts seeing some weird shit.
Yeah, so we're not kind of initially we're not sure if it's, and I'm still not sure whether it was if it's images that have been kind of cast into a mind by the um powers that be exist in the universe, or if it's our own hallucinations, or if it's just the effects of being near this weird squid-like baby creature.
Mhm.
So I was never entirely sure what the. But anyway, she starts seeing extremely weird things like the the titular kind of black stars above, which is kind of the moon being covered in like almost an eclipse type
Mhm.
feeling. So yeah, it's some really. What did you think of like the baby alien ghost squid baby thing?
I thought it was interesting. I like how it kind of develops throughout the story. So by the time, like, it's growing up very quickly because it's not
Yeah,
human, I guess, and it kind of its look changes in issue 3 or 4. It kind of gets bigger and its face looks a bit different. I thought it was interesting, and it kind of gave her something to bounce off of when she's all alone walking in the woods.
yeah,
It kind of needs that. Otherwise, you just have that narration, which there was already so much narration. It's a
yeah,
very wordy
yeah. There
book,
was a lot.
not in a bad way.
It is. Oh, yeah. It is a very wordy book. I was. The second was the end of the book, which is what maybe like 6 pages of like diary entries that are just written in text. Kind of, there's no
Yep.
images there, and I was just kind of like, oh, so I'm reading a proper book now. I'm reading prose. Okay.
Have you read Providence by Alan Moore at all?
No, I've not. I've not.
It's
No.
it's a direct H.P. Lovecraft adaptation. It's I think 12 issues, and after there's one of those journal entries, like 6 pages of cursive handwriting after every issue,
Yeah.
and so this was just
Ah.
like that, and it's Lovecraft. So I was like,
Ah.
Lonnie Nadler read Providence and was like, "I'm going to do a journal entry," and it was equally as hard to get through.
I was just kind of like, it's not that it was necessarily kind of like difficult to read, but I just felt at that point the story, it was a weird way to kind of like, I think you mentioned previously kind of the pace of the book, and just thought that was a really weird place to kind of put that chunk of like text in there. It really slowed down the pace of the story, and I'm just wondering if it'd been 1 or 2 pages, I think that might have worked a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think they have, yeah, it's like, yeah, it was maybe, how many pages was it?
Yeah, 6, 7,
Six,
maybe
eight,
8.
yeah, eight pages of text. And like Hassan, I think, generally did an excellent job here, but the font that he chose to kind of letter the diary entries, there were occasionally some words where I was trying to figure out what the actual word was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but generally speaking, when he's actually inside lettering the words that are spoken, or the speech bubbles and stuff like that, he does a really fantastic job of placing the thought bubbles, and kind of the generally kind of moving the story along. But I just felt the font there was a bit difficult to read. I don't know what you felt about that.
Yeah. I mean, it was the exact same for Providence. They're going for that kind of cursive, handwritten thing, which is really cool in terms of like the effect on the story. But sometimes it's just so hard to read, and I like to read prose and long texts, but when
Yeah,
you're reading a comic, your brain isn't really ready for that, so it takes a bit to switch.
and especially since it was kind of so much in just one chunk as well.
Yeah, maybe space them out, like, and for a thing where it's 8 pages and she's reading this sitting down by a tree. By the time I'd gotten done with it, I kind of thought there's going to be some kind of reveal when we flip back to Eulalie, like something will have changed, or like the world will be different around her. But no, she just had been sitting reading, and I was like, it felt kind of like a missed opportunity for that her reading that to have some effect on the story and
Yeah,
then the panels.
yeah. I mean, because at that point she'd just escaped from like the cabins in the woods. So it might have been a nice point for like that cabin in the woods sequence. Also, I felt was really kind of like the way they kind of slowly ramp up the tension about what she's come into this cabin. They've kind of saved her, but
Mm-hmm.
we're not really sure what their intentions are. There's this creepy boy that's playing with a puppet, and then it's just this dude lying on the floor. I think he's missing. What is he missing? He's missing an arm or a leg or
His
something.
hand or something, yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, oh, so I've walked into this cabin. They've saved me, but there's a dude on the floor missing a limb, and then this weirdo child playing with a puppet, and you can just her looking around, you just think, oh, what am I going to do? Should I stay? Should I go? Anyway, it's the text sequence happens just after she's kind of gotten out of that situation there. And I thought, like you mentioned, it might have been nice if like the boy was standing there, or someone's come to chase after her, but there wasn't really anything like that.
Yeah, and that house scene was probably the most tense. I mean, compare also with the last when she's in the village at the end. But yeah,
Yeah,
do you know the? It's in the house scene. It's right before she runs away. It's 4 horizontal panels on the page, and she's between the creepy kid with the puppet and the
yeah,
wilderness survival guy, and she's looking
yeah,
from the kid back to the guy, and the dude is just undressing behind her. That shit was so
yeah.
weird. That was that really got my
Yeah.
nerves up. I was like, this is the creepiest it's been the whole time, and all he's doing is taking his clothes off. God.
And he's just kind of like walking towards her, and she's just like, "Oh, dude, yeah, you keep." You can just kind of tell, just yeah, just keep that thing away from me. It's like his dick's just hanging
Yep.
out, and he's just like, yeah, yeah. So it's
And then he
there are
turns
kind
and
of like,
goes out the door.
yeah, it's kind of almost, what's the name? Oh, God, I can't remember what it's called. the TV show where weird things happen. They did a revival season. What was it called?
I don't even know.
It'll come to me later on. I'll Google it and get back to you. But it's kind of there's weird, just kind of weirdness that kind of goes goes on through the book, which I think was suitably well done. Yeah,
Definitely.
so
In terms of the ending, like, so we're about to issue 5 now, where we're at.
yeah,
So that's when shit goes down. Right after she reads the book, she falls through a frozen lake.
yes,
Yeah, and that chapter 4, the second page, that is, and maybe also the third page. I think those are like the 2 prettiest pages in this book. There's like some upside down lettering going on and stuff.
yes.
I
Which
really, really love
just
this issue.
yeah, it's a fantastic image. I was reading on like my iPad. So every time I tried to turn it around to see what it was saying, the image completely. So that was just okay. All right, I need to maybe just then kind of yeah. So it took me a while to actually read what it was. It's just, let me just try and learn how to read upside down. But yeah, it was that is for me that is a startling image, kind of her her family's heads being replaced by plumes of smoke, and her kind of trying to dig her way out of the ice, and she's seeing the faces of her family. I mean, of her father. And there's another image, I think, later on, maybe in the same issue, where the black stars above is shining, and there's this almost spiral ladder coming all the way down from the
Yeah.
stars, straight through the middle of a mountain, straight to the floor. And I thought that is a fantastic visual there. Really kind of, I've
Yeah.
never seen anything like that in another comic before. Really inventive and cool looking.
It kind of cuts the image in half, black and white.
Yeah. Yes.
The moon ladder, is that what they call that? The moon ladder in the story.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a very striking image. And then the pages after that, with the 3 panels going down the middle and her eyes getting worse and worse.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm actually, now that we're getting deeper into it, I really love the art. The
Yeah.
beginning just wasn't, it's so normal, so there's nothing really to like, there's nothing eye popping at the beginning, but once it gets crazy, Jenna Cha really shows what kind of weird, like never before seen stuff she can do.
Yes. So, and then we're in the village, and I really I didn't understand what was, so what is your interpretation of what the purpose, like what the village were trying to do? I think we're already well into spoilers now, but kind of, what did you
Yeah,
think the
we are.
villages were trying to do?
I'm really not sure. So I'm skipping to the part where she's on the altar type thing, and they bleed the Shogoth, they bleed the little baby thing, and then try and pour it into her stomach, like her belly, and that's when she starts to run away. So I don't know if they're like trying to like turn her into some monster. Like, is she the chosen one that they're gonna turn her into
Yeah,
a
it's kind of
monster?
like, that's kind of, you mentioned at the start of the podcast, kind of when you look back at the story, it doesn't really make that much sense. So my question is, who was the guy in the black hat? Why did he give the creature to Eulalie, only to take it back to a place where the creature's going to be eaten?
Yeah.
And then, because that there, there's panels where, I don't know if those imagined panels where she thinks like the creature's like going to be eaten, or they definitely are feeding on the creatures, aren't they? That's not just my
I
imagination.
think so, but they're also breastfeeding it, right? Isn't that a part that happens?
Yeah, yeah. There's a lady. She's an old lady. I think she's like lactating, and like the stuff coming out of her breasts
Like
is
that
kind of like
oily.
inky, inky and oily.
Yeah, that's
So
very. God, that's
so
creepy.
are we to? I should have read it before. I should have read it again. Assuming before we were recording. So I was really kind of like unclear as to what the mythology was
There's
trying to say. So yeah, go ahead.
there's clearly some kind of metaphor for something. Go to the page right before they're trying to pour the black liquid onto her stomach. It's a
Yeah,
9 panels. That's some kind of metaphor for something about Canadian history that I don't know about. There's a woman with a Canadian flag behind her signing a paper. A man about to be hanged. I don't know enough about Canadian history or lore to know what those things are,
yeah.
but that must be some kind of like narrative tie-in.
So so I don't know who the man with the noose around his neck is. I think the top panel. I'm pretty sure that's Queen Elizabeth signing
Yeah,
some sort of like declaration. There's references to I think maybe World War One or World War Two, and then I think it's definitely something about maybe native lands being kind of like harvested for the natural resources there as well. So it's trying to say something. I'm not too sure what it is it's trying to say though.
yeah. I don't think
Um,
I'm well read
and
enough for that. Um, I
yes,
wish I would know. I mean, it's a good story without knowing that, but I think yeah, it definitely adds something.
I think you would wrench it a bit, isn't it? If we kind of got the reference.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then there's kind of like the final scene with the did she ever give the creature a name? I don't think she did
Mm,
she?
I don't believe she did.
So yeah, so the creature's being I don't know if breastfed or if the woman's feeding on her, she kind of rips it away from there. Then she just basically burns the entire town down, which was a really cool um kind of that was really well done. That kind of like the barn, or I think it's like the church burning, and then it's just
Yeah.
this massive explosion and her running away from it. I did you get a firm idea of what the aliens or the netherworldly beings felt about what was happening, if they had any agency or
It seemed like they'd been planning like this her arrival, and she was kind of like they were all just waiting on her for this ritual, but I'm not. Yeah, that's one of the things that I really just didn't understand was I'm not 100% sure what their plans were. So they they didn't even react all that badly when she did escape. They were chasing her and things,
yes,
but there's no one really stopped her. Um,
yeah,
so I don't know exactly. I don't even know if she burn the whole village down? Is it all gone? I guess it looks pretty burned down in that last panel.
yeah, yeah. It
Um,
kind of the fire seems to spread.
which I didn't
Um,
know because I didn't even assume that village like existed in a physical space. I thought she was kind of in some like dream world thing.
oh, that's an interesting. Maybe it was kind of like a metaphor for something else, but yeah, it was. Yeah, I couldn't really get my head. There are some books I think on. If I've read it too many times, I'd get a firmer idea of what was going on within the
Hmm.
story. But I was a little bit confused about okay, so who's the guy in the black hat? Why did he hand it off? Was this kind of a plan from the aliens to kind of free their people from these people that are basically having like a vampiric relationship with them, or was it he just felt that he's found this creature and he needs to send it back up to kind of cattle for the people in the village? So there's things like that I was a little bit confused by, but it's the ending itself is quite satisfying because she she manages to escape and go on further journeys. But yeah, it's a confusing read. I finally remember the name of the TV show. Some of
Oh,
the scenes reminded you Twin Peaks. Just
oh,
the
Twin
most
Peaks.
famous weird. Yeah, just kind of weird imagery that maybe it's just weird for the sake of being weird, but maybe there's like a deeper thematic meaning behind why the artists have chosen to feature those. So what was your question? So you're kind of wondering whether or not she's actually on because like the people on the platform,
Have
the
no
ones that we
pupils.
see have no pupils. So it's kind of is she actually back in the world, or is she in a land where the dark stars above kind of rule? So yeah, I think that's quite an interesting question. I'm not sure. Don't
I don't
know.
know if there's an answer. I just thought it was interesting. I would like to think
Yeah,
she
and I
makes
think
out.
it's hopefully. Well, she's kind of sitting next to that weird creature as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's not a series without its faults. I think if you manage to plow through some of the pacing issues, then it's a really rewarding read.
Yeah. I would definitely agree. I thought I wasn't sure how I was feeling about it for the first issue or two. By the end, I really, really enjoyed it. I would recommend it to anyone that's looking for cosmic horror or horror in any regard, because this is unsettling and has some really good character work, and the art is just, regardless of what you think about the art, I would say give it till issue 2 or 3 because it gets just amazing.
I'd agree with all that. I think some of the dialogue that's in the story is absolutely fantastic. I think the family dynamic stuff, I think, is especially well observed. Whenever she's kind of in a battle of wits with someone else, I think those, that's all always well written as well. So I think it was a superb. The dialogue was superbly written. I think script wise, there were issues with the pacing, but I agree with you. The artwork was excellent, and the lettering as well was good.
Yeah, it was all. Honestly, every member of the team was brought something. The colorist we haven't credited.
Yes, yeah.
Brad
The color, I think the
Simpson.
coloring, yeah. I think you kind of mentioned when we was talking about the family breakdown scene over dinner. You kind of mentioned how much heavy lifting the coloring did in terms of setting the tone for that particular scene.
Yep, and he does
So
that
yeah,
all the way
he did a
through.
superb.
Yep.
He does that all the way through. So yes, that's a firm recommendation from me.
Oh yeah, same here. Highly recommend. One of the better horror
Yes,
comics we've talked about, I would think.
I think most of the horror comics we've talked about have been really, really quite good. We did, what was it called? The adaptation of, what was it called? Oh dear, my brain's
The
gone.
Willows.
The Willows. That was really good. So both. Was the artwork similar to the Willows? Sort of, maybe.
The
Not
artwork.
really. Like kind of the Willows was. I'm just talking about the facial.
Yeah,
And kind of maybe a little bit similar to the Willows.
it's hard to tell because this has such like heavy coloring, and the Willows is black and white. But I see where you're coming. But the
Yeah,
faces, yeah.
yeah. The faces were maybe a little bit similar. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I'm not too sure what the plans are for the next few episodes. We'll have a chat about that, and we'll let you guys know what
Yep.
we're going to be reviewing next week.
Definitely. Guys, if you enjoy this type of stuff, we have a link down in the description for our tip jar. If you like watching, that helps us out. Really motivates us to keep going. If you have any friends that like comics or people who like comics, we'd really like it if you would share this with them. Just so we can get out there and we can recommend more books to people. I think that's about it. Thanks for listening, guys.
That's about it, guys. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Bye.